the framework really seeks to provide actionable knowledge, so knowledge that you can use and put into action to enable the delivery of a place-based just transition framework in industrial clusters. Place-based really recognising that technology deployment is a placemaking process. It impacts host communities and shapes their sense of place, so their feelings, their connections, their knowledges, their future visions and past experiences of a place. And a just transition really highlights the interrelationship between the public support for industrial and decarbonisation projects, local concerns over socio-economic inequalities and environmental injustices experienced by current and future generations that are impacted by industrial activities, both locally and globally. And the underlying principles is really about prioritising the need for a place-sensitive mindset and approach in policymaking and cluster development, one that sees host communities, including the diversity of people within those communities, as stakeholder partners. It's about identifying local demands for environmental, social and economic justice for current and future generations and host communities. And that really involves three interdependent dimensions of justice. So procedural, the process of involving people and publics in decisions; recognitional, recognising the diversity of voices and needs and experiences; and distributional, so equity and fairness in the distribution of benefits and burdens. So these are the 7 key themes of the place-based just transition framework. I'm going to start from the middle and work out. And whilst these themes are kind of in different sections, they are all interdependent, and what happens in one part affects another. So the ongoing theme, ongoing process in the middle, really recognises that industrial decarbonisation is a dynamic process. It's interrelated with the remaking of industrial places and the pursuit of social, environmental and economic justice for current and future generations. The 2 key parts of that are that technology deployment will have long-term social impacts on the lives and well-beings of host communities and workers, and long-term economic consequences for the regional development, and that public support requires continuous commitments to obtain and maintain the trust of those affected and the society at large at every step of their political and industry decision-making. And importantly, decisions that contradict the UK's climate goals will and do impact trust in government and industry. So I'm just going to the green section on place sensitivity, which is one sphere out of the framework. And place sensitivity really is about recognising past and existing impacts of industry and place, including positive and negative ones, need to be recognised and addressed in the process of industrial decarbonisation. These builds on 2 themes of the Net Zero Sense of Place framework, which is about encouraging pride in place and recognising place changes. So there's mixed feelings for industry in industrial places. Residents across our research sites really observed a decrease in industry support for local worker communities and places. And this is, of course, interconnected with global competition and the profit-making imperative of multinational companies, along with the decline in local employment, changes in manufacturers. But this contributes to more of a seemingly extractive relationship. Industry is seen as separate from community rather than a source of pride. And if current concerns over industrial pollution and grievances against industry are unaddressed, it really increases the risk of local opposition to decarbonisation projects. And there's also a shared scepticism within some of the host communities in the proclaimed benefits of industrial decarbonisation due to existing or past experiences, sense of injustice and distrust, and that imbalanced relationship. So just stepping to the turquoisey colour, which is theme 3, genuine community engagement. And the key message here is that engagement needs to be systematic, transparent, accessible, timely, ongoing, balanced. It needs to address concerns and acted on. Now, I know that's a long list, and we really unpacked what some of those could mean in place in the policy briefing. So it's about engaging place visions and unlocking local knowledges. So the communities and publics that we've engaged with our research are typically unaware of cluster decarbonisation plans, but they're keen to learn more and re-elaborate more on the recommendations. So despite some of the engagement that has taken place, we're finding that the current one-way messaging and fragmented consultations activities really aimed at obtaining a legal consent for projects is insufficient to win trust and support. And genuine community engagement really means respecting host communities as equal partners in and experts in their local social and natural environment. It's about open dialogues on alternative visions and options at an early stage, and being inclusive to a range of participants in engagements. Building on previous consultation results and lessons, many of the community participants expressed that they'd felt not listened to in places and times when they had been consulted, and also producing tangible results and impacts afterwards. Stepping to theme 4, which is about localised benefits and fairness, essentially that costs and burdens of industrial decarbonisation need to be minimised and its benefits channelled to the effective people in ways that address past harms and broader social, economic and environmental needs. That's really building on the themes of grounding benefits and building reciprocities. And what it means is translating those general claims of bringing jobs and delivering economic growth into tangible actions. What does that mean in terms of better paid jobs, better quality jobs, and how does that align with current workforce and skills levels? Addressing the broader local concerns such as transport, poverty, housing, education, inequalities, healthcare, non-CO2 pollutants, and high levels of inequality and injustice in some of those communities. Those need to be addressed alongside jobs provision and greenhouse gas emission reduction. Really building reciprocity through attending to the broader social issues. So just moving to the outside parts of the schematic, a little cog on trust, credibility and legitimacy essentially means that early, open and honest communication followed by actions helps to win trust from residents and workers and is vital for securing social licence to operate for decarbonisation projects. We found that a higher level of transparency in decision-making is necessary, including really delineating where decisions are made and which decision-making body makes those decisions. There's currently little public trust in oil and gas companies delivering carbon storage and in the environmental regulators and in government awarding contracts. Host communities value honest conversations about the risks and benefits of industrial decarbonisation. And we've offered some ways to improve trust in cluster decarbonisation, including meaningful engagement and learning from past experiences of engagement, and it crucially involving trusted intermediaries that could be community councillors and local independents organisations, but who that will be will really vary in different places. Also, coherence in policy goals, decision making. So moving to the blue cog, it's about connecting top-down and bottom-up governments. And essentially, that is that better coordination between governments across levels, places, and departments is needed for effective resource allocation, knowledge exchange, and community engagement. And that's vertically between different levels of government and also horizontally, across national borders too. Need to ensure a good connection between different levels of government and departments and different local authorities in a cluster region. And this could really involve new institutional partnerships or organisations to enable integrated and multi-level decisions. And more public resources needs to be allocated to local authorities and environmental regulators to strengthen their capacity in monitoring the deployment of technologies and infrastructures on the ground or maybe beneath the seabed, and in channeling benefits to people in areas that are most affected and most in need. And finally, in that lilac-y purple cog, trade-offs and tensions, we really need to recognise and prepare for the tensions between different stakeholders and priorities that inevitably arise alongside decarbonisation process. So building host communities' capacity to engage with change generated by industrial decarbonisation will be imperative. And change to industrial places is likely to be inevitable as industrial companies alter their operations in response to global push to cut emissions. Host communities will face trade-offs and tensions navigating between different future trajectories, And this adds the importance of really providing communities with sufficient information and different social technologies for navigating these tensions and trade-offs. There is a tension between speeding up industrial decarbonisation and making the process more inclusive and fair. And we recommend that governments and industries really consider genuine community engagement as an enabler rather than an impediment to delivering industrial decarbonisation. Meaningful engagement will take time and entails resourcing, but it could prevent decarbonisation projects from unexpected delay or inadequate design that doesn't fit into local contexts, or project cancellations due to local oppositions. So just a brief overview, the framework overview. What it's for is to really inform delivery of diverse policy goals for sustainable industrial and local development, to facilitate place-sensitive, just approaches to industrial decarbonisation, open up spaces for genuine community engagement, to ensure decarbonisation plans fit with the social, cultural, natural and built environment of the place, to help empower host communities and workers to build a thriving future and capture the benefits, and to build trust and more reciprocal relationships between industry and government communities. Who needs to take action? Well, who takes the lead varies in different contexts, and that is local, but it needs to involve organisations that have local and expert knowledge and actively participates in decarbonising local industry and has some responsibility to residents. So a collaborative process involving the combined efforts from industry, cluster developers and local authorities, host communities and other relevant organisations is needed. So I've just really briefly stepped through the framework for the place-based just transition.